To start the show. All right, hello everybody. You guys all ready for another Unknown Files show? File 15 this week. We're talking Ghost of Missouri. So let's see. I think I'll get the music going. I got that ready, and I think we're ready to go. So you guys ready? I'm ready. All right, you ready? I'm ready. Let's just go ahead and start this thing. All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Unknown Files on the Outdoor Call Radio Network. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. We're going ghost hunting tonight in Missouri. That's right, we're going to have a little fun with that. Thanks for everybody that's downloaded and listening to the Outdoor Call Radio Network. Appreciate you. Couldn't do everything without you, and please tell your friends and family about that. And we'll keep this going as long as we can for hopefully the next 10 years. I'd like to at least do it for another 10 years. Show's brought to you in part by good friends out of Revelton Distillery down in Osceola, Iowa. They are the official spirits of the Outdoor Call Radio Network and the Unknown Files. It's official spirits. You get that? Talking ghosts. There you go. All right, I got everybody on Facebook Live. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome there. Let's go welcome our guest. His name is Mr. Steve Skinner, and we're talking to him. He is the owner of the Haunted Castle House down in Brumley, Missouri. Steve, good evening. How are you tonight?
Doing great, Dan. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. You just don't. You got a different accent for Missouri. I grew up in Missouri, and you got a little more a little twang in your voice than I do.
Well, I grew up in Kentucky, and I've lived in Alabama for the last, almost 30 years.
Yeah, I'm just teasing you. Hey, what part of Kentucky were you from?
Paducah, Kentucky.
Do you know my grandparents were from? Do you know where Grand Rivers, Kentucky is?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's where my grandfather was born, and actually the farm that he was born in is under Kentucky Lake right now.
Okay.
How about that? That's a small world, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah, we used to go down to Kentucky Dam Village every year down in Land Between the Lakes, and outside of Paducah, and we go to Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley, and man, those were great summers as a kid growing up.
Oh yeah, those are beautiful areas.
Eric, what's going on? Eric over there, Luminox. Eric Price, everybody, fine makers of Illuminox. He says, "What's unknown tonight? Lots more than this. We don't know." Eric, we're talking about ghosts tonight. We're talking about haunted houses. Jeff, good evening. Just finished mowing. Jeff, sit down and relax. Get you some tea. Russell, good evening. Thank you for watching tonight. Hey, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. You were so kind when I reached out to you and told you about the show. And how did you guys get into? Because you're a physician, right?
That's right.
Yeah. How did you get into owning a haunted house?
That's a great question. I still ask myself that sometimes. But the short version, my wife and I are both conservative Christians. We never had any paranormal experiences growing up, or maybe I should say if we did, we just didn't recognize them. Um, like you said, I'm a physician, and there just was no place really for paranormal in that world. And matter of fact, I went to medical school and did my internship in Louisville, Kentucky, just a few miles from Waverly Hills, and I'd never heard of Waverly, and I wouldn't have cared if I had. It just, wasn't on the radar. Well, fast forward till we have 4 kids. They're all grown now, but when the second daughter was 14, 15, she was convinced our house was haunted. And our house was, fairly new. We were the second owners. It wasn't built real well. There was a lot of creaks and pops and settling. But so after a little while, it went from being kind of cute to being a little annoying. And I'm like, you're getting ready to transition to the adult world. And adults don't believe in ghosts. If you're believing in ghosts as an adult, you're attention seeking, you're sleep deprived, you're impaired with alcohol, drugs, whatever, you're mentally weak. It's just nonsense. So I said, we'll just find the most haunted place in America, and we'll go there and stay for a few days and prove, that it's all silly. So I get online, start looking, and I kept coming across the Crescent Hotel at Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
We love road trips. It's about a 9-hour drive for us. We thought, we'll have a great weekend there. And put this to rest. So we went to the Crescent, and that weekend changed my life. The first night, things happened I still can't explain. Unfortunately, I've got a lot of it on video. It just, my whole world paradigm is just shattered, and I thought, okay, I don't know anything. There's this other dimension out there that I've totally written off, and so that just kind of set me on this quest to try to learn all that I could about it. And my wife is the most gracious, long-suffering person ever. She has no real interest in this. She just loves me and goes along with it. But she wouldn't be doing the stuff if it weren't for me, and so she's very patient with me. We started going to a lot of different places after that, and we were fortunate to be able to rent a lot of places out by ourselves. And almost every time, we had something interesting happen, and it kept on spurring my curiosity with it, and I eventually got brave enough to talk to a few friends, and I said, I'm probably losing my mind, but here's what's happened. Well, almost every one of them said, well, now that you've told me, I'll tell you what's happened to me. And they said, you just don't talk about it because you sound crazy when you do.
Right.
So eventually, I got to thinking, a lot of these places, they're great, but they're almost too good. Their stories, too good to be true, and they claim that every third Wednesday this happens, or every 4th of July this happens, but there's no evidence.
Uh-huh.
I thought I would love to find a haunted place and put up cameras, and I know nothing there is faked, everything's legit, and kind of use it as a lab, if you will, to try to see what I can figure out, if anything. So I was scanning the internet every Halloween to see what was available, and most places were too expensive or too far away. And in 2018, we came across the Haunted Castle House at Brumley. I had never heard of Brumley, never heard of the Castle House. And my wife very graciously agreed to another road trip, and we drove up and kind of spent the whole 9 hours talking about how ridiculous it would be practicing dermatology full time in Alabama, but then owning a house in a town we've never heard of. And as soon as we pulled on the property, and I know this sounds corny and cheesy, but we just had an immediate attraction to it, and we thought, we need to buy this. And so we stayed a night. A few things happened, and we said, well, it's ridiculous, but if we buy it and hate it, we'll sell it in a year or two, and if we love it, then maybe this is worth doing. So that's kind of how we became owners of the Castle House.
That's awesome. Russell, good evening. Tony, good evening. Susan, how you doing, kiddo? Good to see you. Rick Seeker, good to see you. Roger up New York, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for watching and listening tonight. So can I ask? Now I'm 59, okay, and my family, where my mom and my dad met and everything, their mom and dad, when they got married and they were in Kentucky, my mom does not fib. I mean, she might tell you,
Yeah.
she might tell you a little, a yarn or something once in a while just to tease you. But I mean, mom
Sure.
doesn't fib. She said
Uh-huh.
when her mom and dad got married, they were in a farmhouse in Kentucky, and I heard this all since I was like 3 or 4 years old. When they would wake up in the morning, all of their dresser drawers would be pulled out,
Uh-huh.
and they'd put them in the evening, and the house was level. There was no explanation for it. So after about 3 weeks, they started hearing stuff on the stairs. They got out of there. But so I heard about that when I was a little bit. I've actually seen stuff. I've seen a ghost of a cat. I know that sounds silly, but I think I told you about that. And I've got video of stuff. It's crazy at my old house. So I'm a firm believer in ghosts. I've seen and heard stuff that I know what I saw. But what did you guys experience when you stayed in that for the first time? What did you experience? May I ask?
Yeah, when we stayed the first night before we owned it, it wasn't anything major. Judy was back in one bedroom. I was at the other end of the house. Both of us were upstairs, and
Mm-hmm.
I heard her walking down the hall to me, and I leaned over, and there's nobody there. While she was in the bedroom, she thought she heard somebody walking kind of across the hall the other direction. She also heard what she described. It sounded like a metal ball rolling around, or maybe a wheel on a wheelchair or stretcher or something. So nothing major. Could have just been the house, could have been our nerves, but it was intriguing enough to make us want to stay. Uh, when we stayed in there the first night as owners, that was the only time I've ever been scared in my adult life that I can remember. Um, we've been blessed to get to go to a lot of really cool places. I always like to go off by myself. We joke if I'm in a horror movie, I'm the first one dead. Judy will be in Halloween 20. She's taking the first. She knows better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear like, well, what's that? This is why I'm doing it. I want to see something. So,
Right.
yeah, the first night that we had it as owners, it was the end of December. I think it was the 28th, 29th, somewhere around that. We'd worked that day. We left, drove a really hard drive. It was rainy and nasty out. It gets dark early, and as you get closer, there's lots of really small roads, and so it was a hard drive. We get up there a little before midnight, and we unload our truck and get things in the room, lock the house up, and I'm like, I'm just beat. I want to go to sleep. So we're upstairs, and we just call it the red bedroom because it's painted red. But that used to be the master originally, so that's where most of the owners would have slept. So the house is made out of concrete. It's like 14 to 16 inch thick concrete walls, and I'm laying on the bed next to one of those walls. Judy is still very much awake. Judy is kind of anxious. It's a dark and stormy night in a haunted house in a town we don't know. And from the bed, when you're looking straight in front of you, there is a closet door that's a pass-through closet that leads to another bedroom. But while the house was kind of occupied by squatters, somebody busted out part of the upper part of the door, so there's enough, that a face could kind of be looking at you. And, she just sees that. She's like, "Who's in there? What's in there?" So I've been asleep probably 15 minutes, and I hear 5 really loud bangs. It sounds like somebody's in that closet hitting that door as hard as they can, saying, "Let me in." Well, I'm thinking we've got somebody that's broken in. There's a human in here. So I grab my 357. I go and I look in the closet. There's nobody there.
Wow.
There's one other closet door on the other side. It didn't sound like it was there, but I check that. There's nothing. I go out in the hall. There's nothing. So then I search all the upstairs, get downstairs, and get to the front door. And there's only one door in. It's deadbolt locked. The alarm system's still on. And then I realized, too, that I've left my sweet, loving wife in the room where the sound was.
And you got the gun.
I've got the gun.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I was shaken. I never had experienced something like that. And went from thinking, criminal, I'm going to have to confront, to what in the world did that. I finally get back to sleep a little after an hour, and I had a couple periods where I kind of feel like static electricity all over me. But I think, that's just my nerves. I'm still pretty wound up. At about 4 in the morning, my pillow gets pushed in about 3 to 4 inches, and right by my right ear, I hear a male voice, a deep voice, say, and I'm wide awake then. I can't get back to sleep. And so we were there another day. Nothing particular happened, but when we headed home, I told Judy, I said, I've got to go back alone. The house won. It's one. I'm nothing. I can't let it beat me. So
Yeah.
I went back up by myself a couple of weekends later, and you'd have thought you're at your grandmother's house. There were no noises, no feelings. It was just as peaceful and calm. And so that's kind of how our period of ownership started off. It's been quite an interesting trek.
That's crazy. Everybody that's watching on Facebook Live, if you got a question for Steve, just message me, and I'll ask him for you. That's no problem at all. So you guys have I don't know how else to say it. This house has some history to it. Just looking online and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a doctor's office for a while, so there's no telling what happened there, right? What period of time was it a doctor's office, Steve?
Okay, well, the property originally was bought in 1859, and the first gentleman that owned it, Reverend Jacob Shaw McCombs, was there for about 15 years, and then Dr. John Connor, which was Reverend McCombs' nephew, bought the property, and he lived there from 1875 to 1883.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't live in the current house, but we found the old home site. We've done ground penetrating radar a couple times out there. It's about 150 feet from where the house is. And he not only was a doctor, he also was a pharmacist. He had a little apothecary shop there. And he was Miller County coroner for those 10 years. So we think he probably not only saw patients, but also prepared bodies and did autopsies and things. So that was the first doctor there.
But that was on the property, not in the house.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the house was built, we think around 1883, 1885. We've gotten a great history of it with, deeds and all kinds of legal documentation. There's one little area that's kind of nebulous, and we think that's probably when the actual house was built by a guy named John Clark Martin. But the first doctor to actually live in this house was Dr. Walter Dixon. He lived there from 1928 to 1930, and he was the doctor. He was the health commissioner that oversaw all the schools, and he also was the coroner. So he would have seen patients there, and again, possibly done some of his coroner activities there. And then the next doctor was Dr. Myron Jones, who lived there from 1935 through 1947, and he would have treated patients there as well. We've actually found some old vials of medicine that they were empty, but they're old medicine vials, and you can date those based on the little stamps on the bottom and whatnot. And so we've got some vials that were from both Dr. Dixon era and from Dr. Jones's era. So that's just more evidence that patients were actually treated.
Gotcha. That and I'm sure that there were people that passed away there then.
We know as far as owners, absolutely.
Yeah.
With patients, I suspect there were. We're trying every which way to dig up, get our history as accurate as possible. And, we've reached out to a lot of the townspeople, and we've had some of those get back with us and share some things. Others, understandably, can be a little reluctant. If your family lived there, you don't want somebody saying that their deceased loved one is haunting a house. I mean, we try to be very, very diplomatic and sensitive to those type things.
Sure.
But, we know for a fact of owners that died there, and just assumed that there were probably a few patients that did as well.
So now you guys, with opening this up to have tours and investigations, now the house was actually on the Dead Files show, right?
It was, and it's interesting. We didn't know that. I had not watched the Dead Files. I've watched some paranormal shows, just mostly to find locations and see if there's any equipment that looks interesting. But I had never watched the Dead Files, and so after we stayed there, we learned it had been on, so we went back and watched it then. And I have to say, one of the reasons I didn't watch the Dead Files was the psychic on there, Amy. Her eyes just, they're so wide open. It just kind of distracts me. Sometimes I'm not the most mature, so I couldn't pay attention. But then, seeing them do the episode at our place, an awful lot of the stuff Amy said was extremely accurate, and that was really kind of neat that we'd had some experiences, and then, almost a year later, we're watching it and see, yeah, she talked about some of the stuff then, and also the guy that kind of saved the Castle House, Nick. He's the one who brought the Dead Files in, Nick and Marcy. Nick restored it from it, kind of been overrun and squatters were in there, and he started a historic bed and breakfast, and then he said that they started having odd things happen, and some of the guests got weirded out, so he changed it to the haunted bed and breakfast. But he had little books by the desk in each bedroom where people could write down their experiences. So the next owners, Mike and Vicki Rowland, continued that. So we've got some really interesting, reports from people who just were staying there, not necessarily investigating, just people who were staying there tonight, and things that happened to them. And it's kind of nice to see there's a thread of things that seem to happen repeatedly there.
So what have people routinely seen?
As far as what they've seen prior to us taking over, there wasn't a lot of visual things. Mostly it was they would smell perfume. They would hear the knocks like the ones that I heard.
Uh-huh.
They would hear footsteps in the hall. They would hear a variety of different musics. A lot of them were older musics, classical music, flute music. They would get some interesting pictures, and some of them post them to the Facebook site back then or to the website. So, we still have some copies of those. A lot of them would feel a presence, like touching them or leaning over. In the bedroom where I heard the breathing in my ear, lots of people said that somebody would whisper in their ear or play with their hair, touch them while they slept. So, just a lot of neat, interesting things.
So that squeaky thing that you heard when you guys first stayed there, would you think that was like a wheelchair?
I don't know. That's my best guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it would have been, but that's our best guess on it.
Huh. Yeah. That would be disturbing. And now, have you personally smelled any of the perfumes and stuff?
Yeah, it's so fascinating, having this place because um, we'll be there, maybe 2 weeks and nothing happens. I mean, you really feel like you're just in a vacation home. Then
Right.
we'll be there and every night things just, one after another. And the perfume, I've smelled it in the parlor and at the top of the stairs. It smells like an older type of lady's perfume. It's not one I could identify, but it's interesting too because I was there with my wife and we had another friend there. And my wife's got a great nose; she can smell things. My nose has a lot of sinus issues. I don't detect odors as well. But a couple times I could smell the smell. Our friend could smell it, but my wife couldn't. I mean, she just, uh, she's standing right there. And we're both, yeah, we smell it, and she's picking up on nothing. So then it gets to, is there actually a smell there or something imprinting on your olfactory nerve, making you smell something? I smelled it at the top of the stairs one time, and over the course of about 15 minutes, it made its way down to the end of the hallway. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I would say. Now, what have you guys captured on camera? Have you gotten stuff moving or anything like that?
We have a couple of the neatest things we have. We have security cameras there all the time because
Right.
we still, we're not there full time, and so we have a ring security camera in which again called the white bedroom. We think it's the room that they used to use to see patients. There's a closet door. That's one of the pass-through doors, and that door shuts extremely well. I mean, it's got a great latch. It's not one there's any question. It really shuts. And so the camera goes off, and we go to look at it, and the closet door opens. I mean, you hear this big ping, and the door opens up, and there's nobody upstairs. There's nobody in the room. Um, the other side doesn't shut well. The door to the red bedroom, the latch is messed up, so you can't truly latch it. But we had video while we weren't there. Went off that there was motion, and the door's actually jiggling a little bit. It's like moving a half inch, an inch back and forth repeatedly. And this happened for the first time. It was May of 2020. Uh, and when it happened, I was so excited. I thought, oh, this is great. But then it was happening like 3 or 4 times a day. And it did that for about 2 weeks. I thought, crap, there's an animal in there. There's a hole all the way through the roof. So we went up there, and the night we got there, that detector goes off. I run up to see if it's anything with the door, but it's not. The door's still, it's actually kind of sweated shut. Uh, but what had set it off was one of the controversial things in the paranormal. There was an orb that set it off, and no, in my mind, most orbs are dust and bugs, but this was a very large glowing object that came from the door into the room very slowly, very distinctly, doesn't change its shape any, goes all the way to the closet door, then takes off. But that is what set it off. And, it's got to have like a heat signature to set the motion detector off or some type of mass. But so, yeah, we've got those. I've got a picture that I took with my SLR camera. I've got a Nikon D3, and I'll go out at night a lot of times and put it on a tripod and long exposure. And down by a chicken coop that doesn't have any chickens, there's a coop I think the last used probably in the 40s. There's something odd beside it that's there in one frame and it's not in the other. And I'll have the shutter open for 20 seconds, and then as soon as it clicks, I hit it again. And we have lots of animals out there. There's possums and raccoons and cats and owls. But normally, if an animal comes into it while I'm doing that, they're just really long,
Right.
like a 6-foot cat or something.
Right.
But there's something very distinct, and then the next one is it's not there, and so we get some interesting things in a lot of our mirrors, and I know with mirrors, there's so much that can be misconstrued. You can have the pareidolia come in. You can, if there's an imperfection in it, it reflects the light differently, and depending on if the back's silvered or not, or there's just so many ways you can see something that's really nothing at all. But we consistently get some of the most bizarre things, and one of them in particular, uh, that I can't just write it off as not something. I don't know what to say it is, but there's just some. That had it where it looks like there's a little girl standing behind me. Another time it looks like there's a man behind me.
So it's like a
Uh,
like a figure.
yeah. I mean, it really. Everybody looks at it. So yeah, there's a little girl there. It's like no, there's not. But it is taken in a mirror, and so if some way there was some distraction reflection that I can't explain, but I'm the only one in the hall, and everybody that sees it says it's the same thing. There's times where it looks like there's something between me and the mirror, like there's one that looks like an arm or a tentacle. There's one that looks like 4 gnarly black fingers holding a staff coming out of the red bedroom.
Really?
It's just, and we have a lot of these things on our website, and we love people will go and look at it and critique them. There's been pictures I had I thought were legit, and someone said, "Oh no, here's what it is," and like, yeah, that makes sense. That's clearly that's natural.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, they're just head scratchers. I don't know how to explain them.
So the website is thehauntedcastlehouse.com, correct, Steve?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you can check that out there. If you got a question for Steve, let me know on Messenger, and I will be more than happy to ask him. Now, you guys, in your bios, you said that there's a pioneer and a mass grave located on the property. What's the mass grave about?
Yeah, the mass grave, it's interesting. When we, got the property, we were told, a history that I'm sure the owners, thought was accurate. But you know how hard it is to really get accurate with these things. And so one of our goals was to really dig deep, and we were very blessed to have great help from the Miller County Historical Society, especially Greg Huddleston. Really provided us with a lot of things, and then Ancestry.com and newspapers.com, and just we continually try to update things. So we were told it was from the Spanish flu of 1918.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there was not a doctor there during that window of time. And so we had ground penetrating radar done by 2 different people a year apart. One is a retired geologist that goes all over the nation doing it, a great guy. He's the one that identified the original home site. And then where the mass grave's supposed to be, he went east and west, north and south. He said, there's definitely something here. He said, whether it's bodies, body parts, animals, there's something disrupted down here. And then where the pioneer grave's supposed to be, there's several stones that are there that are big rocks. And probably about 70% of things, he got hits on those, and he got them on the right side where if people were buried, they would rise towards the eastern sun. So I don't know. We've tried to think, could it possibly have been the coroner putting a pauper's grave or body parts, or, is it just where they got rid of animals? It seemed odd to bury animals or people that close to the house. But I don't know. We've had a lot of psychics that have been there, and, I have varying degrees on my opinions of how accurate they are. I've met some I think are phenomenal, and others, maybe are a work in progress. But we've had a lot of different thoughts from them. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't. So, I'm to the point now where I'm actually starting to excavate a little bit, and I just want to dig and hopefully be able to find something, or find nothing, and be able to clarify that part a little bit more.
Have you noticed, or is any of the guests or anybody that's been doing the tours in that area of the property, have they noticed seeing like lights or any kind of phenomenon like fog or anything, mist or anything like that around there?
The one thing that has been reported a lot in that area is seeing kind of dark figures, and it's always at night. And
like a shadow person?
Well, see, I don't know if it would be a technical shadow person or it's just a person at night, because it's dark enough, and they don't have real distinct features to them. But yeah, movement seen over there, at night, and then a lot of it's at nighttime, and based on how our eyes are, the rods that detect low light, they're extremely good at picking light up, but they're not real good at being real accurate. So is it your eyes playing tricks on you because you're at a haunted place and you're expecting to see something? But it's interesting that that's probably the only place outside people really do report seeing anything.
Okay. Jill in Maryland wants to know, with the little girl in the pictures, has any of the psychic people picked up anything from a little girl in those areas?
Yeah, we have it. And with the psychics, there's a couple different stories that they've come up. We had one was that she was somebody who was treated there and passed away. Another said no, it was a little girl who was like a neighbor girl that got lost, and there used to be a pond there, and may have passed in that. When we've had people try to come up with names, I feel bad saying this, but one of the names was Sarah. I think every place I've gone to has a
Sarah.
A girl named Sarah.
Well, that was a popular name back then.
Popular name.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's but definitely that's been reported by the psychics, and so hopefully we'll eventually get an answer to it.
Okay. All right. We're talking with Steve Skinner. He's him and his family are the owners of the Haunted Castle House, and it's in Brumley, Missouri. Steve, where is Brumley, Missouri, located at?
Oh, Brumley is about 10 miles away from Osage Beach. It's
down by
the Ozarks.
down by the lake. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a little town. I think population is 92, not counting us. And it was quite a popular, booming town. Back around the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, and then as so many places do, it changed a little bit probably after the lake was built, and but still have some nice folks around there. We've got some great neighbors around us that help to watch things when we're not there, and share some of the stories with us. So yeah, it's a nice little town.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Steve, hang on. I got to take a real quick break. Can you hang on for me?
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right, we'll be right back with Steve. It's the Unknown Files, case number 15, the Haunted Castle House in Missouri. We'll be right back on the Unknown Files show.
Whether it's camping, hunting, or fishing, you want your camping setup to be
easy and your stay as comfortable as possible.
What's going on, everybody?
Has been helping folks enjoy the outdoors as problem-free as possible since 1999. Camprite employees are outdoor enthusiasts that use and design each product to make sure your adventures are ones you'll want to remember. They carry great tents like the original tent cot that started it all.
He's got a Bigfoot story, too. Can't wait to talk about that one.
The comfort of a standard sleeping cot with the added protection of a tent. Camprite features several models of tent cot units, including single and double units. They also specialize in sleeping bags, camping tables, cooking prep units, chairs, and other fine quality outdoor products. With over 17 years of field testing great outdoor gear products, Camprite is the right choice to make adventures not only comfortable, but also carefree.
Hey, Wolfie!
Check out all these
Congrats
Camprite
on the
products
turkey!
At your local Sportsman's Warehouse or anytime on the web at Camprite.com. That's Camprite with a K.com.
Are you into hunting, fishing, camping, or tailgating? If you are, we'd like to introduce you to Arctic Ice. Arctic Ice is a brand new way to keep your game, beverages, and camping supplies cold and fresh. Wherever your adventure takes you, Arctic Ice Packs are a rugged ice substitute that maintains low temperature longer than a bag of ice and does not have the slushy mess that can contaminate what's in your cooler. If you like to hunt or fish, look at the Alaskan Series or Arctic Ice Packs that will keep your game or fish at 34 degrees for 3 to 4 days. If you're wanting to really freeze things up, try the Tundra Packs that can keep your wild game and fish at dry ice temperatures for the travel back home. For tailgating or camping, try the Chillin' Brew Packs. It'll keep your beverages of choice at frosty cold temperatures 4 times longer than what a bag of ice can. If you want your game, fish, or camping goods to stay fresh and cold as possible without the mess of regular ice, go check out Arctic Ice Packs today.
Let's talk about a story, an Iowa story about a dream that took several years to come true in Osceola, Iowa. It's the story of Revelton Distilling Company. These fine distilled whiskeys and gins and vodkas were born from the labor of Rob and Christina Taylor. It's amazing hearing the customers' descriptions of how unique each bottle looks and how each spirit tastes and satisfies with every sip. From the honey whiskey to the whiskey and cream, or the robust mulberry gin, American gin, or vodkas. Revelton Distilling visitors can't believe the flavor profiles the mixologists are creating at the distillery every day. Revelton Distillery is open Wednesday through Sunday in Osceola. They're located at 1400 West Clay Street, right off I-35. Revelton Distillery fine spirits are also available at your local grocery and other retailers around Iowa. Please check them out online at ReveltonDistillery.com or visit them at the distillery. If it's time to celebrate or just time to sit back and unwind, well, then it's time for a Revelton moment.
You're heading out on your morning hunt well before sunrise, so you can stay undetected from that giant you've been chasing all season. Wouldn't it be nice to know exactly where your stand or blind location is without letting anyone know where you're at walking in? Have you ever heard of Onyx? Onyx is one of the most important pieces of hunting gear that you can use and always have with you. The Onyx Hunt app allows you not only to get from your truck to your hunting spots, it also allows you to mark and save your parking spots, scrapes, food plots, rub lines, or some possible next stand locations. The Onyx Hunt app is also a great way to see your property and know where you stand. Onyx is a mobile app that you can take anywhere. It's recognized by game wardens all around the country as a valuable hunting tool. So, if you want to always know where you are and have the ability to save information that will help you be a better hunter, Go download the onX Hunt app at your app store today. All right, welcome back to the Unknown Files show. Outdoors Dan here. My guest is Steve Skinner, and we're talking about the haunted Castle House down in Brumley, Missouri. Steve, still there, buddy?
Yeah,
All right, thanks for holding through. Got to pay the bills. You know how that goes.
understood.
Yeah. So, here's the thing that gets me. I've been in several places, and I've never seen anything, or I've heard some weird things. The stuff that I know that I seen was actually in my own house. You think things? Do you notice that you and your family get interactions more than guests do? You think they get used to you?
Oh, that's a great question, and I don't really know. I kind of think it may be more that if you're maybe open to it now. I mean, I wonder how many things that happened that I just brushed off because it wasn't a possibility. So maybe looking forward, being aware of it, being open, maybe you see more.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard others make the argument that they know you, you know them, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked anybody that. I got John Zaffis coming on the show in a couple weeks. That's Ed and Lorraine Warren's nephew. He does a show called The Hunting Collector. I'll ask John. I got tons of questions for him because I've been to several places, like I told you, that are pretty well known across the country. And the only thing that I ever really had happen to me was in one place. I had a camera, 35 millimeter, because this was going back a way. But my batteries, when I went up into the attic, all my batteries died instantly.
Yeah,
that was weird. But I did, and it was like a real sense of sadness. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, just real sad place. And then and then in St. Louis, I had a place I went to, the Lent Mansion, and that's actually a restaurant on the ground floor. And we were up on the third floor. There's been a couple of the people. It was owned by the people that had Limp Beer, and the three of them committed. It's either two or three of them committed suicide when Prohibition hit, and then the last one was a few years after that. But anyway, I was the last one out of this house or the room in the top floor, and there was a waiter's tray. You know where you bust the tables, put the dishes and everything. That big plastic tub. And I was getting ready to step through the door, and I heard something go, shh. And I go, what was that? I looked behind me, and that thing had moved like 4 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. So that, besides the stuff happening in my own house, that's the weirdest I've ever had. So it's got to be neat to be able to see some of this stuff happening.
It really is. It's funny you mentioned Limp. That's probably the only place we've been where nothing happened. It's a beautiful place. We loved it.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah, and I've got friends who say it's the most active place they've ever been. But that kind of gets to the point that things don't act on cue. Like I mentioned, the Castle House. I've seen full body apparitions there. I've seen a little blonde haired boy 2 different times, and 3 different groups have seen this same little boy, and then I've heard somebody just wailing, like a woman just sobbing her heart out on the back porch. I thought my wife had got a call from home. Somebody had died, so I run back there, and there's nobody there. So you have really pretty extreme things that can happen, and then you'll have the next week where there's absolutely nothing. And I wish I could find a way to see what makes the activity more. Is it something environmental? Is it your mental state? Is it the time of year? Is it solar flares? What's the deal? But I guess it would be easy if it was all just straightforward.
So when you saw the full body apparition, was it like that when it was a little boy you saw?
A little boy. And the first time it happened, it was actually in we have a closet underneath the stairs, and I'll go in there sometimes and do some sensory deprivation things or EVPs or And back behind me, I saw a little boy, again, looked like he's 4 or 5 years old, blonde hair, kind of hair cut straight across, brown overalls, kind of a dirty white or a creamish, shirt. Both of them look like they've been worn a fair amount. He's just sitting there, legs crossed, and I couldn't tell if he was hiding or if he was just back there playing. But he didn't seem to be aware of me. And then the next time it happened, which was, probably 3 months later, the night that we're leaving the house, I'm all focused on get the house prepared, make sure everything's done. So I'm upstairs in the white bedroom fixing the bed there. It's about 11 at night. And I've got everything lined up like I want. So I come around the corner of the bed, and I'm not thinking ghost at all. There at the top of the stairs, that same little boy sitting there, it's like his head is on his hands. I guess his hands folded, and his head's there, and it's kind of cocked a little bit, so his body would have been a stair or two below that. And he's just like staring at me like, what are you doing in my house? Who are you? And I just freeze. I'm like, hey, come on in. And he just disappears. And I'm so excited. I run downstairs and get ready to tell my wife, this is just the greatest. I just saw the little boy again. And my wife, she will go anywhere in the daytime, but once it's dark, she stays in our apartment that's attached to it because that's the ghost-free zone.
Yeah.
And so she had just come out of our bedroom, finally worked up the nerve. She wanted to run to the kitchen and get something. I said, you won't believe it. I just saw a little boy up there. And she does this 180, goes right back into the room.
When you saw him in that little space, how far away from you was he?
2.5 feet. I mean, because it's a tight little space. I mean, he's just right there.
Did you try to reach out and touch him?
I just froze. I'm like,
I'm just asking.
I can't be seeing this.
Yeah.
And then, he just slowly disappears. When I saw him the other time, I was able to stop and kind of wave to him and like, come on in. And then again, he just slowly disappeared.
That's great. And it was he looked solid. It wasn't like you're seeing through him.
No, he looked very solid. I've seen a lady that's kind of short, probably 4'6" to 4'10" in size. Older lady, gray hair, bun on top of the head, and like a black, kind of like a Victorian morning dress. It wouldn't really be a morning dress, but that kind of look. I've seen her in the red bedroom, and I've seen her walk across the parlor. My wife has only seen an apparition one time, and she hates when I tell the story because she again, this stuff kind of freaks her out. But I'm out in the backyard. I think I was actually digging, and it's the middle of July. It's hot, and she very graciously thought, "Hey, I'm going to go check on him and bring him some water." And so when she's getting ready to go out, she thinks that there's a mirror right before you get to the door, and she thinks she sees somebody cross behind her. But she figures, it's just her imagination, and she comes on out and gives me the water. We talk, and I guzzle it down and say, "Would you, please give me another, bottle?" And so she runs back in to get it. And when you come into the front door, there's, kind of a reception area, and then you go into the dining room and then the kitchen. So she's middle of the day, again, not thinking anything, and she gets into the kitchen. She said she slowed down. She just felt heavy and just really uncomfortable, and she took about 2 more steps, and she said the only way to describe it would be like this oval opens up in front of her, and it's kind of gray, and there's this older lady with her hands up beside her head, and she's making a face at her. She said it's like she's yelling, but there's no sound, and she's just seeing her from the shoulders up in her hands, and it totally freaks Judy out. And she runs back outside, and of course I run back in the house and get the equipment, and didn't get anything. But so the next day, I'm in on the back porch, and the porch is just off of the kitchen. I'm back there doing some stuff, and I hear this bang. And Judy had come into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, and a tea decanter that's been sitting on there for 3 years at this time fell off and hit her. And it's certainly possible that as we walk, it's an old house, floors aren't level, it could have scooted up. But my wife notices details phenomenally. I can move a piece of paper, and a week later she'll come in and notice it's moved. And if I ever set something close to an edge or the table, she'll move it back. She's just always concerned that things. So in my mind, I'm wondering if that lady that made the face was trying to do one more thing to scare her off. And we've had psychics say there's some matriarch out there who doesn't like another woman that owns the house. She's fine with me. And, whether that's it or whether it was just, an uneven floor and it finally wiggled up and it, hit Judy that day. The timing's kind of interesting. And we put it right back where it was. It's been another year and a half. And I check it every time we're there. I've jumped up and down in front of it. I've shook the refrigerator, and I can't get it to budge. So,
that's crazy.
That's the only possible, mean thing that's happened out there. Everything else is pretty benign.
So, how many tours do you guys run through there a year?
We don't do a ton. Again, my primary purpose was just having a place to investigate myself and to try to, study and figure out what I could. We have some people that are, involved in the paranormal that we sometimes invite out just to have like a brainstorming session. And so just with actual tours, we have 1 hour tours. We may do, I don't know, 10 or 20 in a year. We have 4 hour investigations where a little bit more involved, and we can allow them to use some of the equipment and kind of help out. And same number on that. And then we have where people can come out and actually have the house for 24 hours. They can get there at noon and have it till the next day at noon. And sometimes when teams do that, they want us to help out or participate. Sometimes they're like, no, we got this, and we just stay in the little apartment that's attached to it. And that way, if they need something, we're there. If not, we don't bother them. And, we probably get have, 10 to 15 of those a year. When we bought the place, we first started working on some of the construction issues, some wiring and electrical things, so we weren't really open a ton then.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, the COVID come about, shortly after that. And then we had some personal health issues come up, and my mom passed away, and just, there
I'm
was a
sorry
lot
to
of
hear
it.
that.
I appreciate that. It was one of those bittersweet things. She's just a very devout Christian woman. She was very comfortable and at peace, but you just, never ready for that.
Oh no, none of us
But,
are. So hey, I gotta ask you this: the place in Arkansas that you guys went to, a long time ago. After you said that, it took like 20 minutes to hit my head. But I've read about that. Was that the place that had like the spring water, or it was the people went there to get healed, and it didn't heal them.
Well, it started off with spring waters way back with the Native Americans and Civil War soldiers. But then this Dr. Norman Baker, the place went through a lot of different things, fancy hotel, different stuff. But then Dr. Norman Baker bought it, and he wasn't a doctor. He presented himself as one, and he came up with this elixir that was supposed to cure cancer. Nobody got cured. A lot of people lost a ton of money.
It was a hot springs, wasn't it, Steve?
I don't think it was a hot springs.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a natural spring that was close by.
I got you.
But and I could be wrong. They could have had hot springs there. But he came up with this elixir that had all kinds of bizarre stuff in there, and just basically robbed a lot of people as they were dying. And
that's awful.
A bad person.
Did you have anything happen to you there?
Oh yeah. That's what got everything started. The first night we were staying there, I was in a room with my daughter. My wife today we were not married then. She was there though with us with another friend in another room, and so my daughter and I in this one room, and we go to bed, have video cameras running, and I got woken up 3 times that night. Twice it sounded like chains jingling, and once it was like this old lady's perfume squirted up my right nostril. So when I woke up, I thought, I'm as simple-minded as everybody else. This place got to me. I dreamt that.
Yeah.
But then I go back and I look at the video, and sure enough, you hear the jingling, see me set up, you see me digging in my nose, trying to figure out who squirted this stuff up. But the part that was the most convincing, the most mind-shattering for me was for about 30 minutes, my feet were out from under the cover, and they were moving just subtly, not kicking or flailing, just little movements. And I had no idea this was happening. And then... and I can only describe it as it looked like a little black skeleton finger touches my foot and pulls back. I couldn't get a sentence out. We rewind and watch, and I'm saying, it touched my foot, and that's when my mind's blown.
Okay.
So we go back and check, the floors and the walls. Is there something animated in here? What did that? And then my wife and her friend ran their video the next night, and they had the most incredible video ever. They had no clue anything had happened. But while they're sleeping, it looks like the sheets rise up, 3 or 4 feet off of the bed like a wave, but it's not the sheets. You see the real sheets are there. You can see through this, and then you see another person basically get in bed and pull the covers up, and you now see 3 distinct heads in the bed. They had no idea that it happened. And, so, yeah, we had some pretty cool stuff, and we've been back a few times. We always get something that occurs there, and it's what got this trek all started.
Yeah, I apologize. I forgot. I've got the attention span of a gnat lately, Steve. I'm telling you, it's just these turkeys are killing me. I've been filming turkey hunts Oh, it's crazy. Hi, Kenny Cole. Good to see you, buddy. So, before we get out of here, we gotta talk about Bigfoot, because when you and I first talked on the phone a few months ago, you said that because I was telling you about some of the guests and stuff that we had on the show, and you said, oddly enough, Dan, I've got a Bigfoot story.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, practicing dermatologist for almost 30 years,
Yeah.
and after I got interested in this, I started talking to my patients and getting their stories. And around Halloween, I'd always ask in particular, hey, anything odd happened? So this sweet lady that's been a patient for 10 plus years, she's perfectly normal mentally. She's 75 years old. We're doing a surgery on her, so we got plenty of time to talk. She said, yeah, actually, I do have something. And her daughter's in the corner cringing, like, Mom, please don't. And I said, no, I'm going to tell this. And she lived out, in the middle of nowhere. It was close to a national park.
Yeah.
And she said she was driving down the highway middle of the day, and she said a Bigfoot ran out in front of her, slammed on her brakes, and said it reached out and touched the hood of her car and ran on into the woods. And she said the oddest thing, it was white. And she said, I remember the hair under the arms was just so long, too. And so after my experience, I don't discredit anybody. I think they may misinterpret things, but she clearly believes that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, she has no reason to lie. She's not selling me anything or trying to convince me. And so the next day I'm asking patients the same question. And this lady who is from the same area, she doesn't know the story of the little old lady. She just, I'm throwing this at her cold. She said, yeah, when we were kids, my brother and cousin used to love to play in the woods. They were, 10, 12 years old. So one day they, came running in just, white as sheets and just terrified. And they swore they saw Bigfoot, but they said it was white.
Really?
So I get two white Bigfoots back to back. So probably 6 months later, I get online and I have a little ad thing pops up, and somebody had written a book about the white thing of Alabama. And apparently for over 100 years, there's been a white Bigfoot seen in this triangular area that involves, that park and those areas where my patients were from. So
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen anything.
You got to do me a favor. When later on tonight, you and your wife, or tomorrow, you got to go online and put in Flash of Beauty, the Bigfoot documentary. And Tobe Johnson and Jill and Eric, they're doing a sequel to that movie, that documentary. I want you to get a hold of them. Just Google Flash of Beauty, and you can there'll be a contact email, and tell them you were on my show. And then and I want you to tell them that story, because of all the people I've been talking about Bigfoot for the last 2 years, I've talked to people in Florida and stuff where they said that they had more of a brown or orangish color face to them, but I've never had anybody say anything about a white Bigfoot. I think those guys would flip out if you told them that story.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. I was thinking we got some crazy person with a white ghillie suit or something running around, but for 100 years, that's a little odd. So, I'll be glad to do that.
I don't think it's somebody running around in a ghillie suit if it's been over 100 years. That's amazing. So, well, Steve, I got to tell you, this stuff, it's fascinating. I love doing this show. I love hearing everybody's stories and encounters, and it's just cool. If someone wants to either come out and talk to you guys, or come and do an investigation, or spend a weekend, I guess, is it the best way for them to get a hold of you at thehauntedcastlehouse.com?
Yeah, that's got all of our information, and it's got how to contact us, for specific dates, and we also have a Facebook site that's hauntedcastlehouse.com, and we've got, if they wanted to email directly, it's hauntedcastlehousemo, like Missouri, at gmail.com. But going to the website's the easiest thing. And we don't have a whole lot of availability this year. Hopefully next year we're going to have a whole lot more. But we love to talk to anybody, and we share stories and answer any questions they may have.
Yeah, absolutely. So what big ventures do you have for you and your family this year planned?
Well, this year's actually been kind of a year of healing for us. We traveled a lot, and I had some medical issues that forced me into retirement a little bit early. So this has been the least we've done in several years. We've been trying to get things in order here, and then in September and October, we'll be doing a fair number of things at the Castle House, and we're really interested in seeing what happens this year when we do candlelight tours. Last year, every candlelight tour we did, we had something really odd happen, and we started getting teams to use candles in their investigations, and for some reason that seems to be a trigger to get activity stirred up. So we're interested to see if that continues this year, if that was just kind of a odd coincidence last year. But
I gotcha. All right. Well, hey, since you're retired now, you can get you a big van and call it the Mystery Machine.
that would be awesome.
Yeah. You know,
That's a favorite of kids.
yeah,
I
I
love
just
Scooby-Doo.
little Scooby-Doo thing. I told my wife, I said, I wish I had the money. I would love to buy like an RV camper that you could drive. And
Yeah.
you know, because with the technology with the Outdoor Call Radio Network, I can do the shows pretty much anywhere now that's got internet. And I would just love to be able to travel and do on location stuff all across the country and just to see things like what you guys are doing. I think that would be so cool.
That sounds like a good goal for them.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
right.
I've been hunting. I've gotten to hunt for a living. The Lord's been very good to me. I've been hunting for a living for 25 years, doing the TV hunts and everything, and I've got to travel and see some things I probably would have never seen otherwise. But it just,
That's awesome.
you know, that's what I love about this subject matter. It's I grew up on it as a kid. It'd be neat. It'd be neat to go like up to the Pacific Northwest for 10 days and just hang out and see what happens, or just travel, go to like an old Maine lighthouse that's supposedly spooked, and just kind of hang out there for a couple days. I just think that'd be kind of neat to do that.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, listen, I wish you guys all the best. If something crazy happens, will you please email me, get a hold of me, and I'll get you back. Can we get you back on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, please give my best to your family, and hopefully we'll catch up with you before the summer's over.
Oh, that sounds great.
All right, Steve. Have a great rest of your night, and God bless you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Talk to you soon. All
Bye.
right, there he goes. There he goes, Steve Skinner. Really, really nice family right there. All right, hey, if you just tuning in, we just did case number 15, Unknown Files show. If you're tuning in for the first time, I know this is different from a hunting and fishing network. We started this show in January because I had so many people asking about other things that we could do on the radio station, and I've always loved Bigfoot and ghosts and stuff like that, and this has actually been one of our most popular shows. So we're going to keep doing it, and if you got a topic you want me to look into or a guest you want me to book, just either email me or message me here on Facebook, and I'll get on it. Real quickly, Camprite, if you're going to be going camping, Camprite's got a big sale going on. Go to camprite.com, Camprite with a K. They've got stuff up to 50% off. They got sleeping bags that are normally $119. They got them for $59 right now. And then tent cots. I've been telling you how nice these tent cots things are for traveling, and you're sleeping up off the ground. They're really, really comfortable. They've got them now for down to $179 and free shipping. So just go to kamprite.com and look into what they got. I think they had over 31 things on sale. I'm going to be giving away a tent cot and a sleeping bag here in a few weeks. I just got to figure out how to do it because we got our fishing contest going on, and up to Lake Winnebagoche in northern Minnesota. And then I've also got I was holding up my Tacticam X Pro camera. I got a bunch of these in today thanks to the fine folks at Tacticam. We partner with them. This is our third year, and we're going to be doing some Tacticam reveal contest as well. So make sure you tell your friends and family about the Outdoor Call Radio app, and it pays to listen. Doesn't cost you anything. You might win some great stuff. So anyway, all right, that is going to wrap it up for me. Soldier Boy Jerky, thanks to Soldier Boy. They've got subscription services. You can order, set up when you want the jerky delivered, how many bags you want, sizes. You get to choose what kind of jerky you want. That's all for you there at Soldier Boy Jerky. And don't forget, they take really good care of our troops. They send a lot of jerky overseas to our troops and service people. So they're veteran-owned and good folks out there. And I think I'm all caught up. I think I got everything. We'll be back on the air on Saturday morning, 7 to 9 on the Outdoor Call Radio Show. And we're going to be talking with Lance from the Olive Tap. We got some good cooking, grilling recipes we're going to go over that you can use avocado oil and olive oil for your grilling and your smoking. and stuff like that. But like I said, if you got something going on, you need to get a hold of me. Just I'm easy to get a hold of. And have a great night, everybody. And thank you so much for being part of the show. Let me get out of here, and we'll see you next time. All right, everybody on the Outdoor Call Radio app, I'm sending it back to scheduled programming. You enjoy the rest of your night. We got Warden Watch, George Lynch, and the Keystone Experience for you. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wild Thursdays, Victory Drive Pod. We got a new show starting tomorrow. It's the Hunting Out West Hub. That's a brand new show that starts tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy Clint and all the gang on that one. We got Pure Whitetail, Victory Drive podcast, and Tom Rowland's wonderful show as well. So you enjoy that tomorrow, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night, everybody. Have a great evening. All right, everybody on Facebook, thanks for watching tonight. I appreciate you. Let me know if you need anything, and if I don't talk to you before, I will talk with you on Saturday. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Appreciate you. Thank you.